So,
Beautiful.
okay, so we're live. Believe it or not, this thing, yeah, I guess we should probably hang up and just use our computers. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so this is what happens when you go live and try and adhere to a schedule. Believe it or not, we're actually broadcasting live to the world, and it's not even embedded on the website because I don't know how to do that. So maybe we can just sort of talk story a little while I figure out, or at least just send this link out somehow to the Hangouts so that people can watch. There should be a way to embed this, but we'll figure it out later. What are you seeing now, Antonia?
I'm seeing your face.
Okay.
A Hawaii Creative Invite.
And your face now. We have one viewer. I wonder if that's you.
Probably. It's Mango.
Let me go back to the
provide a lot of value.
Okay, that's
I don't plan to do anything.
So part of who's that?
Mango. If I left him downstairs, he would cry. So.
How does he cry?
Oh, I hope you don't hear it.
Is it like a shriek?
He gets we call it mangry because his name's Mango. So he gets mangry and starts freaking out.
That's funny. That's funny. Anyway, thanks for the last minute hangout request last night.
Absolutely. You know
yeah,
me.
So, yeah, right. I have to kind of pull up my agenda because it's been crazy with like calls and a lot of work happening this week. So let me pull up my notes here. And today our special guest is Antonia Sanders. She's from a company called Fresh Fun Social, and we have some really interesting things that we're going to be doing this week as far as projects go and collaborations that we're doing. So hopefully Antonia can tell us a little bit more about her background, and we're going to talk social media in 2015. And knowing Antonia, she has a bunch of statistics. She probably over-planned for this entire thing. So we'll let her make use of her research, and while I figure out how to embed this thing so that we have more than one viewer. So, Antonia, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into social media, what your background is, all that stuff.
Wow, okay, that I didn't prepare for. That's too funny. I do have all my statistics and whatnot, but yeah, I'm just, I'm one of those crazy people that actually really like social media. I'm really fascinated by it. So it's been my hobby for some time now just to do the research behind the evolution of social media and how it started and how we got here. And coming from a communications background at HPU, it's just funny because you get into communication globally and between people, between cultures, between technologies. So from that perspective, it's been really fascinating to me. I've always been interested in marketing and PR, and I think it's like we got to change our game now. I mean, it's completely different, and I think right now we're at an interesting time, really interesting time, because it's it's a complete game changer. So that's our job.
I mean, being involved in social media back in like 2006 when we heard of this thing called Twitter, and everyone in the newsroom, I was at the Humble Advertiser at the time, we were like, this Twitter thing looks weird. It just launched at South by Southwest. We'll just sign up and squat our names so that no one puts our names. And then like a year later, Obama's inauguration happened, and we're like, hey, let's get on our Twitter accounts because this thing is blowing up. So it's kind of funny to see how far social has come, and for the longest time, it's been kind of this magic bullet of business, and it's so understood, I think, misunderstood, understood. I think it's really misunderstood as far as especially businesses doing this for a living, how they feel like social media is such this huge savior, but it really comes down to having a cohesive plan. If your product sucks, social media is not going to fix it, and
Right.
And I think those are some of the things that both you and I, Antonia, share a passion for talking about. So how do you feel that social media has evolved? I know that you've had your own businesses, you've dabbled in nonprofits, you've been in and out of real estate, and now you have your own social media agency. Walk me through your experience in the evolution of social media, and tell us a little bit about kind of your experience and your background in social.
Well, yeah, like you said, I mean, it's been quite an evolution, and I think, like most people, I started out skeptical, but it was at a time where I was young and reckless and um, all about the fame for 5 minutes, and so MySpace is really happening at the time, and it was funny because we were all like, look, we're famous, we have websites, and we have fans and followers, and it just went from that to, went from a popularity contest to, wow, you can actually move mountains with this. You can really do some interesting things. So I think that's in 10 seconds. That's where it went. It went from this, here I am, look at me, to what can I do with this tool? It's like we've leveled the playing fields between big corporations, big companies that had unlimited budgets to be able to reach the masses, to now anybody can. And it just really depends on your message. It depends on your passion. And I think that's the angle that I take from it is, what are you passionate about and how can we share that with the world? And I think that's something that businesses are having a hard time with because we're so focused on the traditional advertising realm where you throw up a flyer, you throw up an advertising campaign, a print campaign, and it's like, you don't really, there's no engagement, there's no community there. You just have to hope that your graphics and your copy speaks for itself. But now, social media is by its definition social. We need to be actually engaging with our audience and building communities, and it's all about bringing that passion and that drive and that focus to the forefront. And I think it's beautiful. I really do. It's like it's a new era, definitely.
Yeah, I really see 2015 as kind of like a renaissance in social media. It's funny because hearing you talk about it almost sounds like we're back in 2007, because I feel like a lot of people are jaded about social media now. They're like, Facebook is doing weird things with the algorithm. You've got things like Snapchat that people don't understand. People still don't know what the heck Twitter is or how to use it. But it's funny because professionally people think that they need to be there. And I think that's another thing that we like to stress is, hey, if Facebook doesn't work for you based on the numbers and you're actually measuring it, then why use it, why not just stick with Instagram? I would much rather advise a client to use 1 or 2 platforms very, very well instead of using 6 platforms.
Absolutely.
And I think part of that comes down to my understanding about different social networks and the success that I've had as well. I know for a long time people like Ryan Ozawa, Bert Lum, a lot of the hardcore technologists really use like Google Plus, and they understand it well and they advocate for it. Ed White was another example of that, and I think that's awesome. And I feel like one of the things that I want to try and do is understand different platforms better so that I can make more informed decisions as a professional. And kudos to those guys for really evangelizing. I mean, most of the early social networks that I've joined was because of Ryan's early invites or his posts about, have you tried this new thing called Gowalla, or what about this thing called Foursquare? And that's how I've been introduced to lots of different platforms. So I feel like, and I always say this in any like presentation or whenever I'm talking to someone about social media in 2015, I feel like social media is now where websites were, about 4 or 5 years ago. 4 or 5 years ago, everyone's like, well, if you don't have a website, then you should be online now. And if you're not online, then you should be. But I feel like social media now is at a place where, we're all on Facebook and Twitter, and we have this thing called Instagram for the last year or 2 now. But what are we doing there? Is it working? So I think that's something that I really want to focus on for 2015. And I think a big part of that is also making those social connections real, which I think is a great segue to talk about your company, Antonia. Tell us a little bit about Fresh Fun Social, how it got started, and what it is in a nutshell. And maybe we can even tell the whole story of the evolution of this thing in the past 2 weeks.
Yes, we keep saying 2 weeks, but honestly, it's been incubating for about a year. We had this conversation a year ago. It's funny because working with JG is like working with business planning on crack because everything happens so quickly. But I'm the kind of girl that likes to research everything to death. So I said, a year ago, okay, give me 5 years. I'm going to research the heck out of everything. I'm going to immerse myself into learning social media and figuring out how businesses can utilize it. And, you know, and then eventually I'll get to this point where I'll have an agency and I'll do this and I'll do that. And, you know, a year later, we touch bases again and you're just kind of like, let's do it now. At that point, I had already made the decision to leave the corporate world. I was most recently the training coordinator for one of our top real estate companies, helping the new real estate agents learn how to utilize social media. And I did that because, as you mentioned, you know, I was in real estate for a bit. My husband had a small business. We've had several business ideas and things like that. I kind of do business planning as a hobby. I never know if something's going to stick, but, you know, I like to do the research and figuring out how
and I've seen that process in action, and it's awesome. So I think we should stop making that a hobby and maybe launch a few things.
Right, yes. It's all about the execution. And, you know, it was just funny because this past year working with real estate agents, you know, I just saw, and I see it with other small business owners too, that you're passionate about your business. You know your stuff. You're trying to make a difference out there. You're trying to get your name out there. But then you're inundated with get on social media, get on social media. If you're a business and you're not on social media, then you're failing. You know, it's all of these messages that we need to do this and we need to do that. And as a realtor, I really struggled with that. Like, how do I learn all of the ins and outs of my business and then become this social media marketing professional? There's just not enough time in the day. Things change. So I can see why people have a negative connotation about social media. And first of all, there are really two different ways of looking. I'm sure there are more, but quite frankly, there are two different ways of looking at social media, and most of us come at it from a personal background. We were on it because we wanted to be famous, or we wanted everybody to see what we're doing, or we wanted to connect with family, and it's really evolved depending on where you are in life. Of course, if you're now a 16-year-old, you're all about the selfies, whereas if you're in your 20s, you're all about, hey, look at where I'm at this cool new place. And then you're in your 30s, and it's like, here's my baby, here's my dog. And, you know, it really depends on where you are in life, and it's very personal. Businesses, of course, come at it from a different angle, where it's, here's my product, here's my product. And it's finding that happy balance between how do I engage the people who are on there to be educated, entertained, inspired. How do I, you know, put myself out there so that people want to see me? Because this is a new day. It's not about putting up a flyer and hoping people will see it. It's about really learning to understand your target, understand your audience, understand how you can connect with them. Because people now have the opportunity to click the little X and turn you off. So you need to engage. You need to be inspiring in a short amount of time. And depending on what platform you are, that time can be shorter and shorter. Whereas Pinterest, there's some staying power there. You can put something up and things can be repinned months and months later. Twitter, if you put a message up there once, you're gone in 5 seconds. So it really depends on what where's your audience, what platform are they on, and then understanding the dynamics of how do you engage specifically on that platform versus another, which is exactly why I agree with you. Let's not spread ourselves too thin, because it's an entire education. Learning just one platform takes a lot, and they change quite often. But I think it's a sweet spot. I think we can do it, you know?
No, absolutely. I just want to give a quick shout out to Melvin. He's watching us right now. We have 2 viewers.
Yay!
when we hit 1 million viewers, in like a year or 6, you'll be the first one, Melvin. I know other people are probably watching, but he's the one that actually commented. Going back to your whole thing about social media, I feel like businesses, professionals are so busy working in their business that it's really hard to work on their business. I know for me, it wasn't until recently where I gained a lot more awareness around everything that I do. then I think when you start really focusing in on the meaning and the why of why you're putting out a message, and that's one of the things that I really admire about you, Antonia, is that you think about these things. And it seems like common sense, but I know so many businesses that don't really think. They just feel like they have to create content, and by just putting something smart out there that has a call to action, that has some kind of meaningful value, that gives people a reason to share it, that incentivizes them to do something, it'll go so much further than just making noise online. And to your point about Twitter, I saw a really funny show. It was on a network called Current TV, which I miss a lot. I think it's still active. Do you remember that?
I think they were bought out. Yeah, it's different now.
Yeah, it's different. So unfortunately, there was this segment called Super News. I think it was like an animated segment about like news topics, and they had one about Twitter. This was probably in 2009 or something like that. And one of the jokes was, who are you talking to? And they're like, everyone and no one, or no one and everyone, or something like that. And it just kind of made me laugh. And then going back to the evolution of social media, I mean, one of my first major social networks that I was on, without even realizing it, was Asian Avenue. And so if you were on Asian Avenue, like, leave a comment. See, we have to do these calls to action. I think we're on YouTube, so leave a comment, and then we're on Hawaii Creative, so leave a comment. And stuff like Gary Vee will just point here, and somebody will like do something, a button.
Yeah.
But, Asian Avenue is where I learned like most of my HTML skills that I apply today, for clients. And I used Photoshop to design my page, and it was really cool. I mean, social networks are a little less about that creative, like sort of customizing your page. But I think MySpace was a big one. There was Zynga and Friendster, and then we have Twitter, and it's sort of less about the design and more about less about the design and experience, I guess, and more about the story and the content. So it takes a lot more to engage someone, and then there's a lot more noise. So I'm sure you probably pulled up a stat about how much information and noise that people get every day, and why it's so important to provide value to your viewers or to your audience. So,
gosh, I did have a stat. I didn't pull that for this one. I actually did have that. I did have that, and I can't remember it off the top of my head, but
that's okay.
The amount of times that you actually are inundated with some kind of message, some kind of advertising message. So, yeah, I can sense the overwhelm when I talk to a lot of people. They just don't know how to handle all of this stuff. Our lives are all fast-paced these days. We're all doing a billion different things. And one stat I do have is that, over half, 52% of Americans are now, those adults that are online are using more than 2 social media sites. So it's interesting to know that not only are we, first of all, 75 million Americans check their social networks several times a day. 75 million people. I mean, we're on our phones all day long. There's now parodies about how ridiculous it looks that we're on our phones constantly checking our things. But and that's another point too. It's on mobile. So we're seeing that in 2015. I think the big push for making content specifically for people who are on mobile devices and learning how to optimize that. It's past the tipping point. It really is. It's
from a design standpoint, I can definitely see the trend of mobile. I think mobile has been sort of at the forefront for the past probably 18 months, 2 years. But this year especially, with a lot of my clients, I'm seeing mobile first. Responsive is one of the most important things that they ask for, is being accessible on mobile. And like you said, I mean, this thing is stuck to our faces all day long. Actually, no one talks on the phone anymore. So it's just text. And I remember the big joke of like 2010 was like BlackBerry. I remember like having a couple of doctor friends, and they were saying people have carpal tunnel from.
I believe it.
So anyway, it's kind of interesting to see the evolution of it, and like thinking beyond it. This might be like a separate podcast, but it's amazing because I have the iPhone 6 Plus. I have, it's big. I like the screen, but it's amazing how much influence a company like Apple can have on the way that people behave, and like even the way that people use their applications. It really it's amazing how much influence a single company can have on the way that people live every day. You know, this device has changed the way that I actually use my phone. So that could be another topic in talking about like the law of diffusion of innovations and the tipping point and all that stuff. We have to do more of these.
Absolutely. No, I think it's relevant to the conversation, though, and I love that you picked Apple because they really got who they were marketing to, and they really approached it from a story standpoint, not from a product standpoint. They didn't come out and say, here's a computer. They said, they really approached it from who they're talking to and made it so that we all now feel like we have to have the latest Apple product, even though we just bought the most recent version that was still working. I mean,
yep. I'm the one that's standing in line on the day of to get the newest phone, and I know a lot of people out there that treat their cell phones better than they treat their spouses. They actually sleep together every night, but maybe that's a separate.
There's an out for that. There's a reason why.
That's funny. Okay, so we're totally like not even following the agenda, but it's sort of what it's all about. Okay, let's talk about Fresh Fun Social. I keep on saying 2 weeks, and I think for the last 3 weeks I've been saying that. But Antonia, you and I have like a check-in every like year, right?
Yeah, we do.
So this past time, I think it was like December. You messaged me. You're like, hey, so I left the corporate world and I started my own social media company, and it's called Fresh Fun Social. And I'm like, awesome. And you talked a little bit about that, but then you were like, I have a little problem though. I have a bunch of clients that want to come on, and I don't think I have enough time to handle them all. Talk to me about that experience and how you sort of started this thing, and then have all of a sudden a little bit of a demand, and as a business owner, how that what you dealt with in sort of trying to scale up quickly.
Yeah, it's so funny. You mentioned it, and I got into it, and then I didn't really finish my thought. I tend to do that.
That was a good time.
So Fresh Fun Social. Yeah, like I said, it's really been something that I've been very fascinated with every business that we've either launched or attempted to launch. I've always been fascinated with the social media aspect and how we can really share our story. And yeah, like you said, so I spent some time with one of our real estate companies helping new agents to understand the basics of social media, and it was just such a pain point for them. It was just absolutely frustrating. Either they didn't get it, or they didn't know where to start, didn't know what to do. So many stories in the classes that I've taught were just, they're humorous. They're pretty funny because it talks about, all these faux pas, these things that we don't know we're not supposed to do on a certain platform, or, mistakes that were made. And, so there's a lot of fear into going into launching yourself. I mean, starting a business is one thing. There's a lot of fear behind that. There's a lot of the unknowns. Putting it on blast in front of potentially millions of people via social media can also be quite scary, and if you don't understand what your message is or how to really engage, it gets to be, pretty challenging. So, like you said, I didn't have as much time, I think, in my last position to focus on social media, and I just had so many people coming to me saying, I need help. I don't know what to do. And I kept thinking, gosh, if only I had another couple of hours in my day, I would help these people. And, right. One day I kind of just woke up and I said, why don't I help them now? Why don't I spend all this time doing what I love and reach more people? And that's what it's about. I kind of had to take my own advice, which is to follow your passion. And it's scary as heck. But, I'm up on Monday morning, and I am so happy. When has that happened? I'm sorry. I've loved my previous jobs, but I've never been so ecstatic on a Monday morning to get up and do things that I love.
And I mean, you're chatting with me. That's reason enough.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's...
Yeah. Okay, so I get all that social media stuff, right? You know,
Right,
I feel
right,
like we've
right.
heard it all before, but what makes you different? I mean, well, I really want to hone in on the whole name and what makes what you do different from the other 80 social media companies out there in Hawaii doing the same thing.
You're right. There are a lot. There are definitely a lot. Every single person, I think, these days is some kind of social media evangelist, social media consultant. I mean, it's the new buzz title, I think, right now. I wanted to specifically be fresh, fun, social because I, I am a research focused person, but I'm also, you know me, I'm crazy. I'm silly. I like to be real. I like to, and I like to pull that out of people. So when I'm speaking to somebody about social media and how they can utilize social media, of course we want to talk about the strategies, the platforms, the tools, but it all means nothing if we're not really engaging with our true self and our true passion. If we don't come at it with a fresh perspective. I mean, that's what I'm all about. It needs to be fresh, it needs to be fun, or you're not going to want to do it. And that's what I see happening with, so many business owners where it's like, I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't want to see pictures of food all day. It's you get what you put into it. You really do. If and it really depends on what your passions and what your interests are. That's what I'm all about. I'm really, yes, I have a social media focus, but I think, and as you and I have been speaking about this, it really extends to lifestyle. It really goes beyond just social media. What we need to understand is social media is quickly becoming something that is just inseparable from our daily lives. We're getting inundated with these messages, but how do we embrace that and not just push back on it and be frustrated and overwhelmed, but how do we embrace it and soar with it? How do we elevate ourselves to the next level and, go beyond it's just a great opportunity. I'm seeing this opportunity to really elevate our story in a different way.
No, yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the thing that I really identified with. And knowing your personality and knowing you for the last 10 years or so, that's the thing that really piqued my interest. Not only do I believe in what you're doing and what you do as a person, because social media, great, I get it. But when I heard that you wanted to do something different, I started listening a little closer, and I saw a really great opportunity to do social media differently, and to make it really fun and experiential. And I'm a big believer of the fact that the way you deliver content can make or break the way that people listen to you. It can make or break your credibility. It can make or break the value that you provide to someone. So I'm all about making it fun, providing as much value as possible, and keeping it fresh and different. I think that's being authentic and transparent. It's lots of engagement. People don't like to be talking. They don't like to be talked to. They sort of want to engage, and the conversation should be concurrent. And these are all common sense things, but it's easier said than done. So when we talked probably close to a month ago now about this idea, and you came up, you had a little problem in helping so many people at once, just starting this out. We sort of came up with this idea to do a workshop. Well, and it's really more of a workshop. It's more of a learning experience, and it's something we've been developing for the last 2 weeks. And it's something that's going to launch this week. So you could say is that all three viewers now are watching this. Will sort of hear about this, and this is going to be in the mainstream media. I'm echoing. Is that me or you?
I don't know. I'm hearing the yard people coming now, so I'm getting worried. Do you hear it?
It's fine. Okay. We'll just mute you until you need to say something. So yeah, so we came up with this idea to turn Fresh Fun Social from kind of just a social media agency into an innovative lifestyle, learning events business, and we're still working on polishing that. But tell us a little bit about this series of events, and we'll just touch on it briefly, and we'll move on to other things, and then we can. We'll release the rest of the information later, but tell us a little bit about this idea for doing an innovative experiential learning experience, and maybe what someone can look forward to being in one of these seminars.
Yes. Okay. So that's the nitty-gritty of it. That's what we've come to with our collaboration and thinking about this. How do we make it, as you said, experiential? So, you know, I've been to enough conferences and you know, and seminars and workshops to know that I don't love conferences, seminars, and workshops. Yet, how do we grab all of this expertise, this knowledge, tools, skills, ideas, and do it in a different way? So I like to say that we're shattering the traditional conference concept, social media, social mixers slash tech conference. So it's going to be very different, very experiential, very hands-on. You're going to walk in there, you know, with varying levels of understanding of what social media is. You're going to walk out of there with the community. You know, you're going to walk out of there understanding what this is and understanding how, you know, how it can really benefit not only you but your business, your ideas. And I think what we need to understand with social media is that, you know, it's networking. It's really it's hard to do that. I think you kind of mentioned where with Twitter, you don't know if you're yelling to an empty room. And I think that's where some people get lost because they put messages out there and they don't know if one person heard it or 500 people heard it, and do they care? And so it's all about understanding what that means. When people don't respond to you, it's not necessarily that they don't like you. You know, it's not about that, but there are ways to really dive in there and tweak your message. There are ways to figure out who's watching you and who's paying attention and who's responding. How do we get a little more efficient with that? What are people really resonating with? Understanding, really getting into the mindset of our audience, but really also making the connection. I think a big buzzword that I've been hearing, you know, for quite some time, I'm sure you've probably been hearing it longer than I have, influencers. Who are these influencers, these magic people that hold this social media power, and how can we align ourselves with that? And so, you know, that's something that I think people who are more into social media and into this, you know, this space of online business and creativity, they get the influencer. They understand that whole concept. But people who are just starting or not really into it, it's kind of a pie in the sky thing to reach for. And I guess there's a strategy to it. You know, there's a way to do it, but there's a way to do it authentically. And I think that's what we want to hone in on is, you know, how do we connect with people? How do we connect with people that are, you know, on similar wavelengths that we can, you know, really relate to and be authentic, share our passions, build our network. It goes way beyond social media, and I'm excited for this. I really am. I think it's just we have a series of events coming out. First one coming out pretty soon, and it's targeted towards.
You can say it. March 13th.
March 13th. It is on March 13th. That
was like a Wizard of Oz moment, by the way, because the way that Google Hangout works is you have to activate, either it's voice activated switching or you activate the camera. And I had Antonia activated. It was just my voice, but like a green screen in the background. So that's like Wizard of Oz. Anyway.
Perfect.
Sorry.
No worries. Yeah, so, you know, we're going to rock this. We really are. I'm really excited about this. It's, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, people don't know until they know. And it's hard to explain what the concept is until they're actually in it.
Right.
And we've been really working on just the program, the venue, everything is just, you are going to enjoy yourself. I mean, it's a lot of fun. You're going to learn, but, you know, one thing I noticed is, and I think you and I both learned this in some of the leadership development programs that we've gone through, you don't retain anything until you're emotionally involved into it and you're emotionally invested somehow. You're really experiencing the moment. You're, you know, it's hard to really grasp onto a concept until you need to. And so we're going to throw people into that pit of, you know, hey, this is real life. We're gonna inundate you into the world of social media and building community, building relationships.
Yeah, and not to make it sound scary, definitely going to be fun. I think I'm a little bit delayed here, so and I'm easily distracted, so I'll try and focus in here. But there's a couple of different thoughts that you brought up. One is influencers. That's an entirely different story. I think platforms like Clout and Clocal are really great. I feel like that's just one metric of what makes someone very influential. But we can talk about that later. But to just touch on your point, I really like what you said about coming in sort of fresh, varying different levels of learning, and then leaving with a community. I think is really cool. So I like that thought. I feel like we don't really have to sell it too much. Over the next few weeks, we'll be developing and promoting, and I think that people are going to eventually see sort of what we're onto, and I think it's something for us too. We're learning as we go. I've never marketed an event, a social media learning experience before. I've always done it internally for a corporate, either from a corporate platform or sort of doing it on a small scale. So this will be my first big push and partnership. And I'm glad to do it with you, Antonia, and Fresh Fun Social. It also allows me to launch another line of business called Brain Eye Events, which is something that I think there's a huge need for our client base, and that's going to be headed up by Director of Special Events, Ash Hero. So I'm looking forward to working with Ash and building the team out, and working with you, Antonia, with Fresh Fun Social to create some really cool events.
Absolutely. I'm extremely excited. I can't wait to get started.
So let's stop selling stuff and let's get value. Let me see here. Did you have a chance to pull up any stats to talk about social?
Oh gosh.
Why don't you just fire out some interesting stats for the sake of conversation? And we're getting a couple of people that are tuning in. Angelina, I actually met Angelina. She's a photographer. I met her 2 weeks ago at a photography event that we did here, so she's tuning in. I know that she's just starting her business as well, and one of the things I really want to do with these Hangouts is get good engagement from the community, like ask questions live and we answer them live, and go from there. So thank you for being our third viewer, Angelina. We have 6 viewers now. Whoa, going viral.
Yeah.
Viral. Yeah. Anyway, why don't you just give us some interesting social media stats?
Oh gosh, put me on the line there. One that I found, and this was researched by the University of Massachusetts Dartmouth Center, and they found that 84% of Facebook users follow brands simply to show their support. So this is talking about platforms and why people are engaging with businesses on different platforms, because it's very different. So for Facebook, it's they want to show their support, whereas on Twitter, 85% follow brands to get a coupon or a discount. For Pinterest, millennials mostly follow brands to share their interests and their lifestyles with others. So it's very different. It really depends on where you are. And the funny thing is, I love stats and statistics. However, we know that there are always those outliers who do something differently, and if they're passionate enough, they're able to pull their message and really reach audiences no matter what strategy or technique they're using or what their purpose is. But I think it gives us a good outline to understanding why people are engaging with businesses, because really we do have the opportunity to turn off messages these days a little better than we did when we were watching TV. If we're watching TV, you're pretty much there watching the commercials, whereas now we can click the box and turn off the message. Advertising is getting a little different. It's getting a little different. It's completely changing.
Yeah, give us some concrete stuff. I know that it's changing, but how is social changing? How is television changing? I'm putting you here on the spot now because I know you know, and I want to provide value to our people watching.
How is it changing?
Yes. Think quick.
It is, I think we can all see it. How do we, it's hard to put that into words. It's, we see new platforms coming up quite often. We had Ello, we have Medium, which I think is pretty beautiful. So our attention is divided, and it really depends on what you're interested in. Mm-hmm. So we now, as marketers, as businesses, we have to really understand that if our message, if we're not aligned with our passion, if it's not fascinating, we're not going to be heard. We're not going to be seen. We're really competing with Lady Gaga. We're competing with all of these other people on social media that, tend to tell their story on a bigger worldwide platform pretty easily. Yeah. That being said, though, there's still the opportunity for there's always going to be, I think, the opportunity for people to really make it big. My 8-year-old, I'm sorry, he's 8 now. Well, he was 7 at the time, said, "Mom, I don't understand." He's going to kill me for saying this. "I don't understand why all these girls love Justin Bieber." Said, "I don't know either." But, I said, "Son, he started on YouTube. He started on YouTube doing something that he was passionate about. And, look at where it got him." And as you can see, I have this whole setup here because, we started getting into it. And I thought with my son, this is interesting. It is so different. The world that we live in now is so different from the world that I grew up in, that you and I both grew up in. And there's a whole lot of opportunity. So I told Taj, I'm like, okay, if you're really interested and you're passionate about something, let's put it out there. So, he's gone to acting classes, and he's really trying. And so we've been putting together some videos, and he's doing some game reviews. I mean, have you seen Evan's too?
No, I need to start consuming some content. I will put you on the spot, though, and I know that you did a video last week, and only I saw was a game review, like an unboxing. And I want to challenge you to put it out there at some point. You did it already, and I don't know why it's still sitting in your YouTube. Promote that.
Promote it. You know what? I wanted to have a collection, and it's so funny. I'm trying to work with my. John's like, no,
launch it.
It's for me. It's still a learning experience as well, which I love. I am still learning daily, and I've actually attempted 3 more videos since then, and there's been like one technical difficulty after another, and it's I'm working with some new apps and programs to do what I do, because that wasn't easy to do.
I can see straight through all of your blocks. Block after block after block. I need to learn more. I'm using new apps. Difficulties. You know what? We screw up so much on this show. It's my second one. We went from 0 viewers. Well, we just lost a viewer, actually. So maybe we should. I don't know what we're doing wrong. But
I'm definitely putting my money where my mouth is, because using video right now, I'm really excited about where video is going. And of course, everybody talks about how you need to be utilizing video, and so that's something that I'm starting to focus on right now for myself. And yeah, absolutely. You'll be seeing more of those videos, those app reviews. I'm the person that in every conversation says, "Oh, you've got to try this new app. You've got to try this new program. It's amazing." And everybody kind of knows me as that. I know if any of my friends are watching, they're gonna laugh, because you got to get on this program. You got to use Evernote. You got to use this. You got to use that. So I'm ready to take that passion into all of this research that I do. It's really fun for me. It really is fun. I can't call it research.
Yeah.
And putting some videos out there. So that's definitely coming shortly.
Well, let us know so we can make it a launch here, please. I think one of my big things that I'm focusing on, I've said this on social media before, I'm really focusing on 2 things in 2015. One is execution, and one is product. So anyone that comes across my desk with a product that I believe in, I want to help them launch it. And I think just in the past, having that mindset for the past 4 weeks has really gone a long way in gaining new partnerships, in challenging and inspiring myself to launch and execute things. And I want to help everyone else out there. If you've got a really great idea, and if you have a good plan, I want to help you launch. So email me, john@braineyecreative.com, and I'll help you launch your idea. That stands for you too, Tony. Whenever you're ready to make it big on YouTube, it's kind of funny because literally in a matter of a week of putting something out there, you can be viral tomorrow. And we've seen this so many times. And so the one thing that I really love about social media is if you don't launch, if you don't jump, then you'll never ever have the chance to soar. And there's a really cool video that I think I've showed most of the people that I really care about. Who's that? Harvey? What's his name?
Steve Harvey. Yeah.
Steve Harvey. So Steve Harvey had a video about jumping, and it's kind of like his business thing. And if you never jump, then you'll never know. So many people say that. Wayne Gretzky said it about the hockey puck. But I'm a true believer of failure to launch is the reason why so many ideas never see the day of light. And I'm all about keeping it lean, polishing it up as it go. It starts off as an ugly rock, and it'll end up as a diamond. And that's partially what we want to instill in some of the people that we're going to be able to touch through Fresh Fun Social, to just be authentic and open about the process. I think at our core, we are really good at what we do, and I think it's just having that confidence and believing in the fact that we put out really good stuff. I read a really awesome Bruce Lee quote the other day that is really resonating with me, and I'll pull it up in my camera feed really quick. And I was on this thing about passion and drive the other day, and just came across a bunch of different quotes, and one of them was from Bruce Lee, and it goes like, sorry, I'm just going to pull it up real quick. So I don't know if you can see it. It looks backwards in here. But anyway, it says, "Don't fear failure. In great attempts, it is glorious even to fail." And I totally believe that. So I don't know if that was like an inspirational ending or not, Antonia. But why don't you close it out and just give us some like parting words about social media, about being authentic online in 2015, and how people will be able to find you and contact you if they want to learn more about what you're doing.
Absolutely. I think we're at a really great time. We really are. There's a huge support network, and I would like to connect people with that and realize that you and I are working together to really build this community to elevate, uplift, inspire, and help entrepreneurs and businesses understand how to really take their social media game to the next level, and to really set themselves apart from the rest, and do that by really just doing what they love and being passionate and seeing things from a different angle. We're really helping them to look at it differently, and in doing so, we're making it a whole lot of fun. And that's what I'm all about. If it's not fun, it's not worth doing. If you're not passionate about it, like you said, you tell me this every day. People do what's important. So finding out what's important to you, what matters to you, and sharing that with the world. I'm excited. I'm stoked. I'm really happy about this. Twitter @Antonia Hawaii, Instagram @Antonia Hawaii, freshfunsocial.com is in the works. So yeah, absolutely excited to work on this, and can't wait to meet everybody. All 6 of you watching, can't wait.
No, yeah, all 5 now anyway, and just to close it out, I just want to thank everyone. I want to give another shout out to my really good friend Rex Muribe. He's the founder of The Sauce, former professional bodyboarder. I think he still bodyboards, but just entrepreneur, filmmaker, really great guy, and he commented, so I want to give him a shout out. And thank everyone for their comments. It's 9:50 right now. The original plan for these podcasts, video casts, whatever you want to call them, is we're going to be an hour long or so. I would love your feedback on how we can make it better. If you have ideas for guests, or if you want to hear from us every day, I'll do it. If there's an audience, I would be happy to jump on. Just some statistics for HawaiiCreative.org, which is a platform that sort of launched all of this 15 days ago now. We've had, and let's see here, let me just go to our real-time stats. In the past, 17 days, 15 days or so, we've had about 1,600 page views. It's not that much. I just noted, 278 unique visitors, and I think our last Google Hangout had 50 or so views. So Let's just keep track of this. I'm sure Antonia's, no offense to John Yamasato from last week, but I'm sure Antonia will see the power of the female on.
Wow, no pressure.
I mean, John's great and all, but I mean, I got a comment from someone so funny. If Antonia was president, she'd be Abraham Lincoln. That was from Ash, by the way.
Oh my God, Ash, I love you.
Hilarious. But anyway, never hurts to have a nice smile on, and I'm sure everyone will be seeing a lot more of Antonia out there. We're doing a lot together. She's actually going to also be working with me on Braid Eye Creative, heading up some of the strategy side of things for our clients. So if you become our client, then you can talk to Antonia. See what I did there?
Yay.
Well, sounds good. Thanks so much for joining us. Please visit us online at hawaiicreative.org. The hashtag that we're using is hashtag BeCreative, H-I, BeCreative, hi. And comments, feedback, any of that, please let us know. Thank you so much for joining. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Antonia. Bye, Mango.